Anatomy of the urinary system. Anatomy of the urinary system. Urinary system functions to regulate the balance of fluids and electrolytes in the body, and remove metabolic waste products through urine. The urinary system consists of organs that work together to produce, store, and excrete urine. Here is a detailed explanation of the anatomy of the urinary system. 1. Kidneys. The kidneys are the main organs in the urinary system that function to filter blood, remove waste, and regulate the body's fluid and electrolyte balance. Kidney functions, namely, filtering blood, removing waste products, such as urea and creatinine, regulating electrolyte levels, such as sodium, potassium, and calcium, and maintaining acid-base balance in the body. The kidneys also regulate the volume of body fluids by filtering and excreting urine. Kidney structure, namely, 1. Kidney capsule, namely, the outer protective layer of the kidney. 2. Renal cortex, namely, the outer part of the kidney containing the glomerulus, where blood filtration begins. 3. Renal medulla, namely, the inner part of the kidney consisting of the renal pyramids, where filtration and further urine concentration occurs. 4. Nephron, namely, the functional unit of the kidney consisting of A. Glomerulus, where blood is filtered, B. Proximal tubule, C. Loop of Henle, D. Distal tubule, and E. Collecting duct. The nephron is responsible for filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. 5. Renal pelvis, namely, the space where urine is collected from the collecting duct before being drained into the ureter. 2. Ureter. The ureter is a tube that connects the kidney to the bladder. Its function is to drain urine from the kidney to the bladder. Ureter structure, namely, consists of smooth muscle that contracts with peristaltic movements to push urine into the bladder. The ureter has 2 channels, one from each kidney. 3. Bladder. The bladder is a hollow organ that stores urine before it is excreted from the body. The main function of the bladder is to store large amounts of urine and regulate the process of urine excretion through the urethra. Bladder structure, namely, 1. Bladder wall, namely, consists of a layer of smooth muscle called the detrusor, which contracts to expel urine during urination, micturition. 2. Trigonum vesicae, namely, the triangular area at the base of the bladder where the ureter enters and the urethra exits. This area is important for regulating urine flow. 3. Internal and external sphincters, namely, A. Internal sphincter, made of smooth muscle, regulates the flow of urine from the bladder to the urethra. B. External sphincter, made of skeletal muscle, provides conscious control of urination. 4. Urethra. The urethra is a tube that carries urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. In men, the urethra also functions to expel sperm during ejaculation, while in women, the urethra only functions to expel urine. The structure of the urethra consists of 1. Male urethra, namely, longer than the female urethra, and has different parts, such as prostatic urethra, membranous and spongiosa, which crosses the prostate gland and penis. 2. Female urethra, namely, shorter and has only one part that drains urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. Urethra function, namely, the urethra removes urine from the bladder and helps in the process of removing waste products from the body. In men, the urethra also drains semen during ejaculation. 5. Urine formation process. The process of urine formation involves 3 main stages, which occur in the kidneys. A filtration. Filtration occurs in the glomerulus, which is a collection of small blood vessels in the kidneys. Blood entering the kidneys is filtered to remove waste products, excess water, and electrolytes, but retains important components such as blood cells and proteins. The result of this filtration is called glomerular filtrate. B. Reabsorption. After the filtrate is produced, most of the water, glucose, salts, and amino acids are reabsorbed by the renal tubules, especially in the proximal tubule and the loop of Henle. This reabsorption helps the body retain needed fluids and electrolytes. C. Secretion. Secretion is the process by which certain substances, such as hydrogen ions, potassium, and other waste products, are moved from the blood into the renal tubules. This helps maintain acid-base balance and removes waste products that cannot be filtered in the glomerulus. D. Urine excretion. After the filtration, reabsorption, and secretion processes, the urine formed is collected in the renal pelvis, then flows through the ureter to the bladder. When the bladder is full, the process of micturition, urination, begins. The detrusor muscle of the bladder contracts and the urethral sphincter opens to expel urine through the urethra. 6. Functions of the urinary system, namely, a blood filtration, namely, the kidneys filter waste and excess fluid from the blood, turning it into urine. B. Regulation of fluid and electrolyte balance, namely, the kidneys regulate the volume of body fluids and electrolyte levels, such as sodium, potassium, calcium, and phosphate. C. Acid-base regulation, namely, the kidneys help maintain blood pH balance by releasing hydrogen ions and reabsorbing bicarbonate. D. Hormone production, namely, the kidneys produce hormones such as erythropoietin, which stimulates the production of red blood cells, and renin, which is involved in regulating blood pressure. E. Waste product disposal, namely, the kidneys remove metabolic waste products such as urea, creatinine, and uric acid. 7. Disorders of the urinary system. Some disorders that can affect the urinary system include a. Urinary tract infection, UTI, namely, infection in any part of the urinary system, from the urethra, bladder, to the kidneys. B. Kidney stones, namely, formation of mineral crystals in the kidneys that can block the urinary tract and cause pain. C. Kidney failure, namely, a condition in which the kidneys do not function properly in filtering waste and regulating body fluids. Kidney failure can be acute or chronic. D. Hypertension, high blood pressure, namely, high blood pressure can damage blood vessels in the kidneys and interfere with their function. E. Glomerulonephritis, namely, inflammation of the glomerulus which can cause disruption to the blood filtration process. 8. Regulation and control of the urinary system, divided into a regulation by hormones, namely, the kidneys regulate urine volume through hormones such as ADH, antidiuretic hormone, which regulates water reabsorption in the renal tubules, and aldosterone, which regulates sodium reabsorption and potassium excretion. B. Regulation by the nervous system, namely, the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic, controls muscle contractions in the bladder and urethra to regulate urination. That is a detailed explanation of the anatomy of the urinary system. This system is very important in maintaining body balance, regulating fluids, and removing waste products from the body through the process of making urine.